Hey, it's Amy from Create Magic at Work, and welcome to the Magic Formula. I've teamed up with John Nieters from TestRx MD to bring you exactly what you've been asking for. I'm so excited to introduce you to this special series that takes you on a deep dive into experiencing life fulfillment and magical peak experiences through the lens of quantum leadership and spiritual intelligence. In this series, we'll explore powerful practices to help you embrace your full spiritual self as a leader and harness your energy for peak performance. People everywhere are seeking these magical moments that elevate their lives and work, and we're committed to delivering just that. Trust me, this series will not disappoint. So come with me and let's dive into the Magic Formula. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Magic Formula, this special mini-series that we're doing on Create Magic at Work with John Nieters from TestRx MD. John and I are here today to talk about one of the next topics that we wanted to bring to you, which is emotional mastery. This is one of the pillars, if you will, of the Magic Formula. And the next one after this is service to others. So we decided we were going to talk about emotional mastery today because how can you truly be of service to others if you don't have your side of the street cleaned up first, which is really the work, right? The inside job we all have to do, emotional mastery. So I'm really grateful that John is here to share all of his wisdom and advice with all of us. He is a wealth of knowledge in this area. So John, let's talk emotional mastery.
Perfect. So excited.
So when I study emotional intelligence, and a lot of the executive coaches with Create Magic at Work are certified in, they call it EQI or emotional intelligence. There's three pillars that we talk about with emotional intelligence. The first is self-awareness. The second is having an emotional management strategy. And the third is to practice building connections. When you and I talk, there's some deeper things that everyone can practice or partake in, I guess I would say, that actually helps us have that emotional mastery. And one of the cool things that you mentioned to me, I'm just going to start right off, was talking about water. Because as I was thinking about having emotional mastery, I'm like, I don't even think it's possible for anyone, first of all, because we're human, right? We make mistakes, we lose it. I think if we practice and we just have it a larger percentage of time, I think that's the key. But I want you to tell us your take on incorporating water into all of this, because this is probably something not many people have heard.
Yeah. So first of all, before we even just get into the water component specifically, you need to think about the body as a system, right? And you can almost compare it to like AI, right? So like, when you look at like GPT, so everybody's probably heard of ChatGPT nowadays, you know that the output that you're going to get from GPT for whatever you're trying to do is only going to be as good as the input, right? Now that's just one interface. Now, if you think about an individual or a human, we have many interfaces that we can control, such as food, water, things that we put into our body, exercise, mindfulness practices. You know, all of these things are different interfaces that literally no one can take that part from us. We have the ability to control these things. So now understanding that there's also a magnetic and electric component, since those are hand in hand with everything you do, because it's through your heart chakra, which creates your biofield, which is magnetic and electric. You have the ability to do some pretty incredible things. You have the ability to basically be an alchemist, to change the actual properties of things that you're ingesting. And that's why, like, even practices where, like, you know, people sit around a dinner table and they pray before they eat, that's literally what you're doing from a scientific perspective. You're speaking good energy into the food that you're getting ready to consume so that it aligns with whatever your goals are, whatever you're blessing it for, and everything, right? So that's why when people, you may see very spiritually centered people who maybe have their plate of food and, you know, they're just going to eat by themselves and not in a group. They may put their hands kind of over their food, close their eyes, and speak their energy into that food so that when they consume it, they're consuming that food in the best possible way. Now, along with that, obviously very processed foods that are all over the place, especially in America today, are going to create energetic blockages. So you want to try to eat as cleanly and healthily as possible so that you can be an energy conduit to help attract whatever you're trying to do. Now, let's get back to the water component, as that's another thing that you're going to ingest. Water has the unique ability to be such an incredible conduit. It literally amplifies energy incredibly well. And that's why, for example, you never want to be in a body of water when there's a lightning storm, right? You're going to have a bad day if that lightning strikes. So it's the same type of deal. You are that lightning strike. You are the lightning. And when you speak that into the water, you're able to change those properties slightly to align with whatever you're trying to do. Now, that kind of goes hand in hand with one of the products that we've also featured on our channel, the Maya Swirl. So what this is doing is it's swirling the water so that you're able to get the water in the most natural state possible. So you're structuring the water just like it would be structured out of a stream or any natural body of water, which is the healthiest possible way that you can drink water. Who wants to drink water that loses all of its properties when it runs through all the pipes through the city water system to get it to your house, right? And all the resonances that are happening along the way, it deteriorates your water. And you'll notice that if you use that Maya Swirl, or you have another way of structuring your water, that the water literally just tastes crisper. There is a noticeable difference in taste. And that's because you're aligning with the best possible energy in that solution. So water is an awesome conduit to do that.
Yeah. It's just so funny because I'm like, we're talking about emotional mastery. And in the first 5 minutes, I'm like, tell us all about water. And people are probably like, what the heck is going on? But I want to bring this in for everyone because this is why I started with this. This piece is about having an emotional management strategy for yourself. And when you study the multiple intelligence sets that we have, one of them is PQ, which is your physical intelligence in the multiple intelligence set model. And it is a lot easier. If you think of a pyramid, that bottom layer is your physical intelligence. The next layer is your IQ. The next layer is EQ, how I feel. The next layer is SQ, I am. I'm operating from my higher self. I'm operating from my inner wisdom and compassion. It's a lot easier to get to that top point of the pyramid where you're operating from higher self if that bottom layer is operating at peak, which is your physical intelligence. But these are some ways to help your physical intelligence run at an optimal state so you can operate from your inner wisdom and compassion and quiet that ego where maybe we do have emotional outbursts where we react out of fear or defensiveness a lot more frequently. So how cool is it that one of the emotional management strategies we can have throughout our day at work is drinking water? I mean, it sounds so simple, but I can't even tell you how many days in my corporate life that I went through the whole day not drink. I mean, coffee and then cocktails at the, the networking thing or whatever, right? And then maybe Diet Coke at lunch. And now that you've showed me the Maya Swirl, I run that thing all the time. And then I pour it into my Stanley. And I have my Stanley. I'm one of those basic people that has a Stanley. I know the Stanley's amazing. I love mine. But everyone makes fun of me.
Look at what I've got.
For everyone, yeah, we have the same one. Yeah, we have the same one. I freaking love this thing. I know it's like the popular thing and people make fun of it too. But hey, I drink so much water and I use the Maya Swirl that swirls the water, like you said, and I put it in there and I notice a difference. So anyways, why are we talking about all of this? Because it is just one little tool that you can put in your tool belt to have emotional mastery, to have an emotional management strategy. How easy is that you can just incorporate more water in your day doing that? Anyway, if you're interested in the Maya Swirl, we have a link in the show notes of the magic formula that you can click on and it'll take you to get that, or you can reach out to John and I, and we'll show you how to get it. It's super cool, and it looks bomb on your dining table when you're entertaining. But moving on from that, John, I want to ask you one thing, because I know you're an expert in this as well. I think of all the women in the workplace that are very emotionally intelligent, that hold a lot, that have a lot of capacity for others. And this has been on my mind quite a bit, the ignored woman in their maybe mid-40s to mid-50s that might be experiencing some hormone fluctuation, like going through menopause. You're extra irritable. Those things in your body, that's affecting your physical intelligence as well. I've noticed things that used to not irritate me a lot more as I'm in middle age, and I'm navigating that part of my life. So, what are your thoughts on the hormone piece? Because I know you're into this as well with Tester XMD.
Yeah, so that's definitely hormones are incredibly important. And women have that side of things a little more challenging than men because of all the fluctuations in hormones. We just have to deal with it through puberty for the most part, right? But you guys have to deal with it every month and then larger cycles through menopause and all that. So it is definitely something to consider as potentially a causal agent for certain emotional states. The first thing that I would recommend is get a baseline. Go get some lab work done. Go figure out where your hormones are and where they are supposed to be. And if your alignment, cool, awesome. There are fluctuations though, and understand that hormone therapy is a pretty important thing to potentially incorporate for certain individuals that, potentially are way off or need to align better. And it will make you feel incredibly better. I mean, just shifting your mind state so easily just from making sure you're in alignment there is so powerful. And, you're more than welcome to reach out to me directly. I do also own medical clinics, Tester XMD. We're actually undergoing a rebrand right now to My Body Health and Wellness, but it is something that we do every single day, and it's incredibly important. Basically, what I would suggest here is, first of all, understand that these can be causal for emotional states, just like the food that you take in. We're covering these separate sectors first because we want you to understand that there can be reasons outside of just your own brain for why that's happening. It's just not popping into your head for no reason, right? But then understanding that there are ways out. There are ways that you're able to deal with these things, but then also understand that there are going to be day-to-day emotional fluctuations anyways. So you have to remember the principle that we talked about earlier in past episodes where we said, where attention flows, energy goes. So you're giving life to these emotional states when you freak out or you start worrying about something so directedly that it just takes over your whole day. And that's definitely not where you want to be, right? So understanding that maybe the emotional response is teaching you something about yourself too. So that could be another facet here. So maybe you don't want to go the medical route. That's cool. But understand that sometimes these emotional states can teach you deeper hidden truths within yourself, or maybe things that you're longing for, right? And why is that triggering you to have a certain thought, right? Now, just because you have a thought that pops into your head doesn't mean you got to sit there and run with it either. Because again, you're the director of your own life, you're the creator of your own life. And again, like we talked about previously, think of it like a movie, and you are that director. So you have the ability to say you want this in your life, you don't want this, and you get to direct. So you get to point where your energy is going. So if you don't give these invasive thoughts or just reactions to things that energy, they will subside. I don't care what they are, they will go away. Time does heal all wounds. Now, they can be very quick if you know how to redirect energy and you can say, okay, that triggered me, but maybe it's because I really want this. So what can I do to achieve that or move? You don't have to instantly achieve it, but just move in that direction slightly. And I promise you, your subconscious will thank you. Now, there's another component here to think about as well. So a lot of the emotional triggers and states that happen, it's your subconscious that's actually acting out, and understanding that your subconscious mind is incredibly powerful, like way more powerful than your conscious mind. Just to put this in perspective, your subconscious mind, I was reading something I think last month that really did a good job of outlining this, can process 11 million bits of information per second, right? Now, it can't be conscious, because how the hell are you going to be able to think about that many things in a second, right? Now, if you look at the conscious mind, think about how many thoughts you can really comprehend in a second. It's only maybe 40 or 50, right? So think about how crazy that exponential jump is to your subconscious. So another big part of this is retraining that subconscious mind so that it operates in the best possible manner. Because once you understand that your life is truly a projection of your own mind, and that the subconscious mind controls that 11 million bits per second versus 40 or 50, you start understanding, well, maybe that subconscious mind is doing a lot more than A, than I'm even aware of, and B, it's doing a lot more to direct my life. So experiences that kind of just magically happen, or people that you come across that can have major impacts in your life, just opportunity in general. So a big part of this is understanding on how you can reframe or alter that perspective or lens that you look at life through. So every person on this earth has their own lens or perspective that, if, let's just say, as an example here, let's say Amy, Lynn, and I were going through a certain experience together, right? We took a weekend to go do some retreat, right? Amy Lynn's going to get a completely different experience than I will. And that is truly from our perspective on life, which is shaped by our beliefs, which is normally shaped by our experiences or thoughts, because those have an electrical charge with them as well. Those, as you can see, they start to form in longer term trends or cycles to build upon that subconscious mind or that subconscious energy body. So it's very, very important to understand that once you're able to retrain that, you completely change not only your emotional response, but your view on life. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah. I want to point out that we started the conversation checking in on our physical intelligence so we could start tapping into what are the thoughts in our mind? Are they mine? Do I need to own every thought that comes through? And the food piece, I just want to get back to that you mentioned, is part of the physical intelligence as well, what we're putting in our body. So we kind of checked the box on that, right? The physical piece. Now we've moved into, okay, I am not the owner of every thought that comes my way. I'm the observer of those thoughts. And what are some ways that you can share with us if a thought comes in our head? And mainly, I'm really playing around right now with this whole, like, I believe and I have faith in what you're saying, that we have the ability to create a beautiful life for ourselves with intention, with living mindfully, and all of these things. We hear this a lot lately in all of the pop culture stuff. Breathe, yoga, this, that, right? I think it's cool that we're bringing like some other cool stuff to the forefront here that isn't just what everyone else is talking about. One of the big pieces that I have seen that's helpful is when a thought comes into your mind that feels negative or of self-doubt or of shame, reframing and reframing situations. What are some tips that you can give all of us on reframing situations? The reason why I'm asking you this is because in your younger years, you are a beautiful soul, successful businessman now, with all of this amazing insight. How are you able to reframe situations if a negative thought comes into your head? Because you've had a very exciting past that we've shared on the show. So what are your thoughts on that, John?
Yeah. So that is honestly one of the most crucial pieces. And if I could hammer a point home for anyone for spiritual intelligence or just aligning yourself with certain energies, that little piece that you covered right there, in my opinion and in my experience, is the most crucial to anything. And the reason why is, so we talk about how you're the creator of your own life, right? And if you think about it, all of the actions that you do on a daily basis create your life, right? So now if you think about like, okay, you have this invasive thought, you have this negative thought. Now what happens, since you are the creator of your own life, what happens to your life when you react or lash out negatively? Does that help your life or does that hurt your life? Right? So now when you start understanding that, oh shit, like if I react crazy negatively, maybe it's, we'll just say easy for everyone. Let's just say a relationship with your significant other. If you lash out and you have this negative thought all of a sudden, is that going to help your relationship or is that going to hurt your relationship and potentially cause fights and all this unneeded drama? Right? Instead, what I had to learn how to do, and this is not something that happens, you know, in the snap of a finger. It's definitely a little bit of a process, but it can be done pretty quickly. Basically, what you want to do is let yourself and your energy sit with that thought for a second. Sit with it. Just count in your head to 5, right? What else pops up? When you do that, does that thought just repeatedly just echo in your mind over and over and over and just get worse and worse and worse? Or if you just sit with it for a second, does it maybe like strike a chord and trigger you a little bit and get a little bit of rise, but then does it dissipate and just kind of go away and let you just kind of go back to whatever you were doing? 9 times out of 10, it's just going to go out of your thought process. You're not going to have it anymore. Now, on that 1 time out of 10 that it stays there, well, maybe that's a deeper issue that needs to be addressed. Maybe it's something that your partner is doing or not doing that needs to fulfill a need within you. Everybody has that. Everybody has their own needs in a relationship, right? So like maybe that's something that needs to be addressed. And I'm sure that if it's happening to you, it's likely happening to your partner as well. So that can be a meeting that you guys have. But guess what? When you have the meeting and you bring that stuff to the surface, what do you think that does for your relationship? It brings you together. It strengthens that relationship. The whole thing about relationships is how do you overcome adversity to thrive, right? And so if that's the case, why do you want all this stuff that's not on the surface, that's bubbling up, you know, potentially triggering left and right? That doesn't seem like a very healthy relationship at all, in my opinion. But that's also why a lot of times certain substances have been used, like, for example, MDMA has been used for marriage counseling because it gets that ego, which is the big issue here. It gets the ego out of the way and it allows you to actually do the inner work. And so a big part of this, and it's a big issue with a lot of guys, stereotypically, it definitely can happen to women too, to where that ego is there. So traditionally, women seem to be more intuitive, and that's because they like to go within because they aren't as physically gifted as men, right? And as men, they like to use the physicality to direct their energy. And that's why guys like to get in fights, you know, all that kind of stuff. But then when you start understanding that it's the melding of the divine masculine and feminine, that is what is the true way to transcend. You start understanding all that extra stuff, especially as a guy coming from the guy's perspective, the fighting and all that aggression and all. What's the point? What does that achieve anything? Like, sure, it's an emotional release, but there are many other ways to have that emotional release in a much better manner that you can actually help. Go work out. I don't know, go do something that can actually help you learn a skill or better yourself instead of just beating up somebody, right? Now for women, you know, sometimes they go within and they have all these things that are going on under the surface. And that's where that divine masculine side can help, because the divine masculine teases that out and puts it in the forefront. Okay, let's deal with this, right? Instead of having all these things going on concurrently. And that's why the beauty is the melding of the two, because neither gender has it all figured out from just a divine masculine or a divine feminine perspective. It's the yin and the yang, the connection. Hey everyone, we hope you're enjoying this episode of The Magic Formula. Amy and I want to take a quick break to share something special with you.
Yes, I'm so excited. We have created a dedicated page at createmagicatwork.net called The Magic Formula, where we've curated a collection of tools and products that align with everything we're talking about here on The Magic Formula: health, success, resonance, and leadership.
And most importantly for you guys, these products, we personally recommend and vet putting our name on these products to help you raise your vibration, shift your mindset, and bring more magic into your life and leadership.
We've added the link to the show notes so you can just click on it straight away and explore some of the most cutting edge products you can get to elevate your life and leadership.
We're excited to keep this journey going with you guys. Now let's get back to the magic formula.
So we've taken everyone through self-awareness, through having emotional management strategies that help actually your physical intelligence. And now you're really talking about building connections. How can I build connections at a high level? And the reframing situations when you're saying, okay, maybe that thought stays after I sit with this thought. If this thought stays, maybe I reframe what that thought is. It's a great tool to use. And to practice every day, it's almost like weightlifting where you can skill build in this area and then it becomes a lot easier. So for example, one of the famous examples I use is you go to the grocery store and you're in a rush and the person in front of you had at the what's it called? The speedy checkout. I can't think of the name right. The express lane.
Self-checkout.
Yeah, no, not the self-checkout. The fast one where you can have 15 items or less, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So the person in front of you maybe has 25 items. And you're like, oh my gosh, like, why? And then you're mad at this person for holding you up and you're telling yourself this whole story in your head. The reframing practice is to start catch yourself and to start telling yourself a different story. That's an easy way to start. So, oh, maybe this person is in a rush because they're getting home to a sick person that they're caring for. Or maybe they didn't see the sign. Maybe this, maybe that. You start because you referenced everyone's experience is their own experience. And it's all about the stories that we're telling ourselves in our head. And so if we can practice giving other people the benefit of the doubt and telling a different story than the negative one that we're saying in our head, that's just going to reframe our entire worldview and our entire experience. Someone cuts you off in traffic, and that seems to be a trigger for a lot of people. Maybe you reframe the story in your head and you're like, wow, they must be in a rush. Maybe there's an emergency. Maybe their wife's in labor in the car. I don't know. But us giving other people grace and reframing these stories that come up in our head will lead to building connections a little bit more in our deep personal relationships, because you referenced our partners, giving them grace, giving them the benefit of the doubt. Why is my partner being so irritable and rude to me today? They need to act better. Well, then you can reframe the story. Oh, I think they must have just got off a crazy work call. Maybe I bring them a glass of water and ask them how they're doing. So I just want to call that out, that the reframing situations, asking ourselves what's really true, is really important in shaping how we operate in the world and how we view the world. The other thing that you were talking about.
Let me stop you there for a second.
Yeah. Stop me.
Let me stop you there for a second. Sorry to interrupt.
No,
I got on this tangent, right? And I completely forgot to actually answer that part of the question. I think one little piece that I want to add to everything that you just said, and I wholeheartedly agree with every little thing you just said there, is the other question that you should ask yourself is, what can I learn from this situation? What is this teaching me? Is it teaching me compassion or health? Let's go back to the grocery store example. The person has 25 items. Maybe they're irritable. They get into some argument, takes way longer, right? Well, maybe the universe is redirecting you from some danger that you would have been in if you would have left at that particular time. As people already know, timing in life is truly everything. People have probably ran into, potential significant others or people that could have made a perfect mate, but the timing was wrong. So the person, like maybe, let's just say in my situation, let's just say I wasn't ready for a deep spiritual connection with Kate, who I'm with now. If I would have met her a decade ago, do you think we would end up together? Probably not, right? Like I'm a completely different person. So it's the timing aspect too. So what does it teach you? And always remember that everything is within divine timing. Go ahead, Amy.
So good. So good. Yeah, because that's another way to reframe it. Hey, I'm being held back because something greater is going on here than just about me checking out of this line fast to get home for what I want, to watch my Netflix show or, whatever it is, right? Such a great perspective. I want to take this a step further because I struggle with knowing that we can create our own life. I kind of was referencing this before, and having the emotional mastery to do that. We know all these things. We've shared some really cool tools today. One of the things I struggle with is the beating myself up if things aren't going the way I envisioned, and maybe incorporating some karmic lessons into our journey. And what does that mean? So I want to really be conscious and clear with everyone that if things aren't going exactly the way we think they should go, or we've set an intention on how they should go, how do we maintain faith and optimism in those moments rather than telling ourselves, this is what I don't like in the spiritual community. Let me just say it. I don't like when spiritual leaders say, oh, well, you just, it's your frequency. Like it's like this blame on someone. And then they start beating themselves up. Or, oh, you just didn't set the intentions good enough, or you didn't say the affirmations enough, or you didn't do enough ritual, or it feels like it puts a person into a space of self-blame and doubt. And I really want to keep us out of that energy. Thoughts on that with emotional mastery?
So yeah, I think you're teasing out a very important thing in the spiritual world that a lot of people, it's a convenient excuse or scapegoat to always make it look like the spiritual leader who's trying to guide you through whatever practice you're doing isn't the issue, which they're not, because at the heart of things, you are the creator of your own world. When you go visit somebody who's practicing, whatever spiritual practice it is, they're just there to help guide you through the process and to help you uncover things and then help you deal with them in the best possible manner. They're not there actually healing you. You're healing yourself, right? And that's the beauty of spiritual practices. Now, what you just said though, oh, your resonance isn't right and all this, which is likely true. But the other aspect of this is every door will open when it's meant to open, when your frequency matches the door that needs to be open. Now, yes, that can be some sort of cycle that, you get negative about, but it's not, because the missing piece here that many spiritual leaders don't get is maybe there's a skill or a tool that you have not uncovered yet that is going to benefit you exponentially more when that door is open. Instead of just opening the door now, you get this level of success and all of a sudden you piss it all away and you're right back at ground zero, right? Instead of building the foundation, getting the skills and tools that you need, and then going through that door so that it can be a truly transformative experience so that you're able to truly blossom and continue to grow. So that's kind of the missing piece that a lot of people forget. So figure out what can I learn from this experience? What skill am I potentially either lacking or have not quite developed to the point where it needs to be to actually unlock a lot of these things?
Yeah, and to me that just takes it back to, it's all about the journey, right? We're always in this rush to have all the doors open, and we're at the end when that happens. And so we have to really maintain presence and really enjoy the spot that we're on in this journey right now. One other tip that seems like I haven't heard as far as helping people have emotional mastery that you mentioned when we were having a chat earlier was colors. So I kind of want to end the conversation with these like just fun tips that maybe people haven't heard. What did you mean when you were saying we can surround ourselves maybe in the workplace or in our home offices? We can just change some colors and we'll be good? What were you talking about with that, John? Tell us.
So no problem. So basically, as with everything else, everything is resonance and frequency, right? So have you ever walked into a room and, let's just say it's a particular color. We won't even name a color. And all of a sudden, your mindset's shifting. You're in a better mood. You're calmer. You're grounded. Whatever word you want to put in there, it's achieving that straight through color, right? Because color is also energy, because that's frequency. So now you start understanding that. So then you start thinking, okay, so now how can I use color to benefit me? What knowledge can I gain? What tools can I use to put myself in XYZ state, right? So if you think about your chakras, they all have colors that are associated with them. And magically, each one of your chakras also has a specific resonance and frequency. So now if you start understanding, or you can look up what specific chakra resonances are, those likely are the same resonances that are associated with the underlying color. So going up from like your root chakra, which is normally red, all the way up through your crown, which is purple. Now you can also think of these as like the easiest way that most people are going to have the ability to reference these is think of the rainbow, the whole Roy G. Biv thing that you learned in elementary school. As you go up in the rainbow, because of the prism effect that's happening through water droplets, it separates those colors. And they're separated by frequency, which we pick up as color. So now when you start understanding that red is always on the bottom and violet is always on the top, you now understand that red has a lower frequency than violet. Now, just because it has a lower frequency doesn't always mean that you're trying to just only do purple, only purple or violet. That's it. No, that's not what this is about. Each one of those frequencies has a particular attribute or sets of attributes depending on what you're going for. So as an example, red, which is your root chakra, is normally a way that you can ground yourself. That's a big center for sexual energy. It's also a big section or color for just energy in general. Sexual energy is one of the most powerful forms of energy. Just think about if you're sexually aroused at some point, you're probably not tired. Like, I don't know anyone who could ever be actually sexually aroused and be, let's go take a nap, like truly take a nap, right? So other things that are associated with that color are like, see, we already covered energy, passion, power, anger, aggression, or urgency, right? So people that are stuck in that root chakra normally are pretty aggressive individuals. And along with aggression comes energy, right? So if you wake up and you're just dead and you just can't get the day going, put red around you and it will help bring that energy and that ability to just move forward with aggression. So it's good for overcoming lethargy or low motivation. So then the next rung up from that, you get in, so Roy G. Biv. So we're going to the O, which is orange. So that's going to be something that you'd want to use for like creativity, enthusiasm, ambition, warmth, or excitement. So if you're trying to write some piece, like whether it's a book or like for a newspaper, or write something down, you need those creative juices flowing, or maybe an art piece or something, put orange on, and that'll help facilitate all of that. It's good for social gatherings as well, or like in a business scenario when you're trying to brainstorm ideas. So you can put on both, you can hit it from dual modalities. You can put color on and you can play the frequency. So you're hitting both audio acuities and visual.
So if we're talking to leaders in the workplace and they want to do a brainstorming session and tap into innovation and creativity or solve a problem they're working on, you're saying if they're surrounded some way by the color orange, that will help them amplify that, help them find that solution.
Those creative juices.
Yeah, that's really cool. Really cool.
The easiest way is if you're in a conference room and you have a projector, bam, now you have an easy way to put color on the wall.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to ask. How do you do that? That was a great tip. What was you were saying, is it sound that adds to that too?
So yeah, so as we've already been covering, there's, frequency is everything. So it's light, and actually you can create, they've had scientific studies where you can create light from sound. So sound is truly the basis for everything. And if you really think about it, think about your favorite music and it just puts you in that good mood, right? Well, guess what just happened? Sound just realigned your energy to put you in a certain mind state. And that's why Hollywood is such a not only barbaric and evil and all these things, but that's why they control society. And that's the heart of the issue. That's why all of these things that are going on in today's world are such a big deal.
That's a whole other episode in itself, right? Like that we could dive. Oh my gosh, we could spend so much time. We always spend so much time talking about so much because it's just, I love these conversations, John. Let me share my takeaways from today. For me, in hearing you share, it's do the simple stuff so I can do the hard stuff. That's what I feel like, right? Like use my mind swirl and drink some water. Do the simple stuff. Pray over my food and set a really good intention for what's going into my body. That doesn't cost me anything, right? Check out some colors that might amplify my energy in the moment. Reframe some situations. If I hear myself telling a crappy story in my head, I'm going to question that and rewrite it. And then that's going to help me build connection a little bit more. And that's going to help me move into what our next topic is, which is service to others, which is what will be coming out in February. If you could leave everyone with one tip that you don't want them to forget from emotional mastery, what would that be today?
Good question. So I would say live through your heart chakra, through your heart energy, through love and compassion. That color is green. By the way, we didn't get to that because we kind of ran out of time, but that is love, compassion, healing, balance, and harmony. And what that truly means is you're living through love and compassion, and not just like yourself, but every person that you encounter. How are you able to make that person's life better? No matter how seemingly small, just how are you able to make their life better? Can that just be a simple conversation? Can that be helping someone by opening a door, helping them into their vehicle? It doesn't matter what it is. It can be super simple. Just leave them better than when you found them. And that's just like the whole walk around, if you're in a park and you see trash on the ground, pick it up. You leave in the park better than you found it. Do that in every aspect of your life. And I promise you, magic will happen.
I love that. Thank you for helping us end on that, because it's a perfect setup for next month too, when we talk about service to others. So
thanks guys for joining.
Thank you so much, everyone.
See you next time.
I want to thank each and every one of you for coming back every week to listen to a new episode of Create Magic at Work, and really helping to support and advocate for healthy leaders, workplaces, and lives for all of us. If you want any information on how to connect with me, click on the link in the show notes. You'll get access to all of the social media links for Create Magic at Work. Stay following along for more amazing episodes where we help you improve productivity and profitability in the workplace and decrease stress. Sending magic to everyone, and see you next time.